We are live.
Um, I saw some pretty wild pictures from Taylor Desson from Tennessee about the storm that you guys
Yeah,
got.
so this is gonna sound dumb. I knew it was kind of bad. I didn't know how bad it was until last night. I don't get on Instagram a lot, but I got and this is why they do it. I got an email notification from a friend that had posted. And so I was like, "Oh, I wanna see her post." And then I got sucked into reels. This is what happens, right? And, anyways, it obviously knows my location and started showing me all these things of Franklin and Nashville, and that was bizarre because I know for other people, it probably feels like the news, but for me, I'm like, I know these places. Like, I've grown up here,
Yeah,
and some of the shots that it was showing just of trees,
yeah.
particularly there's an area of Franklin that's really nice area called West Haven, like, all their trees are down, even places in downtown Nashville it was just crazy. So where we are in new construction, which is good and bad when it comes to trees, right? So the trees here are probably about
Smaller.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like our tree is probably I'd say planted 5 years old. It has to I'm sure it's older than that in terms of them like bringing in a tree. So I feel like it's sturdy, but it's not like heavy is what I'm trying to say. The trees around us aren't necessarily huge. And that's kind of what you're seeing around town is the trees that are huge that have just like completely collapsed under the weight of the ice. So, I mean, it looks like a war zone in some areas, just all these trees that have fallen down. So my kids are out of school for the next 3 days at least. I wouldn't be surprised if they call off the rest of the week just because it's like once all of the ice finally does melt, and that's really the problem, right? Is just the ice. They're gonna have to figure out a way to clear out the trees because in some places you can't drive anywhere. The roads are completely blocked. So it's crazy.
So, okay, you don't worry about power going out like we do here because all of our power
No.
lines are above ground, and like anytime something happens and a tree falls, it'll take out a power line.
Yeah, we do so my parents are I'd say, like, they're still south of Nashville, they're about 30 minutes away from us. Their power lines are above ground, and they went for about 36 hours without power. Our
Mm,
power lines, again, because 'cause we're in new construction, are underground. Now the areas around us,
that's
I don't know how
awesome.
the grid works. The areas around us, there are power lines in our community that are above ground.
Mhm.
So something could still take out our power, but knock on wood, we haven't had any issues, which has been wonderful. I think my biggest concern is maybe our pipes freezing because it's not like we lived in Chicago for 4 years and we survived a polar vortex, which is -20, which is insane.
Dang.
I mean, it was like people were saying you had to be careful when you go outside because the water on your eyeballs will freeze. Like, that's how cold it is. But, like, the houses there are built for insulation,
Yeah.
and that's not the case here. So, like, there was even an issue maybe last year where some kids were out playing and left the garage door open, and so all the pipes that were exposed within the garage froze, and we had a bunch of people in our neighborhood that were complaining about their pipes freezing.
Yeah.
So, we
Yeah,
have, like,
I
all of
guess
our faucets dripping nonstop just to prevent them from freezing.
same, same. I guess, like I guess it depends on what you consider the South, right? Because, I grew up in New York, tons of snow, constant cold weather, no problems. That everything is
Mhm,
insulated. All the walls are insulated. All where the pipes are is
mhm.
insulated. Even the pipes coming from the bottom of the sinks are generally wrapped in like tubing. But yeah, here it's like nothing. So yeah, you have to keep the water running. I heard you had to keep the doors open as well so
Yep,
that the warm air can get underneath the sinks. So
yep,
we've been doing all that. We're fine here. It's just the roads are pretty bad.
yeah.
Um, but I thought you guys would have like salt trucks and snow plows that would
It
take care of a lot of
depends.
this stuff.
It depends on what part of town you're in. So,
Uh-huh.
they might have more of that in downtown Nashville. It's still limited though. But, like,
Mhm.
where we are, the the first year that we were back, they like, the city sent out an email and was like, "We do not plow roads. We never have, we never will. We have, like
Oh,
we have, like, 2 trucks." So, I think, that's another big difference between when we lived in Chicago was you had to shovel your driveway because if it snowed, it's could potentially stick around for a month or 2 months. Here, it's like it snows and yes, it's an inconvenience, but after about a week, it's all gone. And so
Right.
it's helpful. Like, I mean, it's like, why invest in that infrastructure when it's just like 1 bad week or 2 bad weeks out of the year?
Right. Like, we just take 2 or 3 vacation days when that happens
Yeah.
in Texas. Like, the world shuts down, everybody freaks out beforehand, like, HEB sold out of everything, and then you just hang out at home for a couple days. Kids have been off school for 2 days now.
Okay.
Everything's been canceled, so we
Uh-huh.
probably we're going back Wednesday, tomorrow, because it's gonna be in, like, the 40s or 50s, so everything should be fine by then.
Yeah.
Even the roads now
Um
are pretty much fine.
My daughter has a doctor's appointment this afternoon, so we'll probably try and venture out, see how bad it is. But I will say I jumped on the New York Times this morning to see, like, what does the rest of the country see of Tennessee? And one of the featured articles was, Dolly Plowton. It was a plow that they had named. I was like, "This is hilarious."
Yeah, very funny.
Uh, well, let's see. Do you wanna go ahead and I mean, it's right at 11 on it. We're just cranking. Do you wanna officially start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, all 5 people? Okay, let's
I
see.
should tweet this. Well, before you go, like, start,
Hmm.
I should tweet this out too. Let
I
me
haven't
grab
been
the
t
link.
haven't been tweeting it. Uh, that's probably why. Oh, you
I
know what we
actually
need
went
to
on
talk about when we're talking about AI stuff is,
yeah.
so one of the things that I did this weekend was I did a deep dive on design AI. Like, what options do we have? What are the best systems? There's a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah, I would love to talk about, like,
Mhm.
Figma and its MCP and what it can do for you because I
Yep.
have yet to get it hooked up at Cloudflare, and I feel like it would be very valuable to just get code on the page type
I
thing.
have had several people ask me, so I'm gonna create an internal video for that.
You've got it working?
Yeah, yeah, I have it working.
Okay,
It's
we'll
okay.
start, and we should start with your experience at Cloudflare so far.
Okay, let me pull I had it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Compressed FM, a podcast all about web design and development with a little bit of zest. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Raspberry Pi projects, workflow orchestration, selling into Cloudflare, open code, all the things.
Web development and design, who would have guessed? Well, we can do them both, even add a little zest. So turn up the volume, get ready for the best. Let's get it started in this episode of Compress.
Hello, my name is Amy Dutton. I am a senior design engineer at Cloudflare.
Hey, y'all, my name is Brad Garapi. I'm a senior front-end developer at Cloudflare. Look, we don't even have to say our companies anymore in our little video things right here because we're all the same now.
Oh man, I love it. I'm so happy at Cloudflare. It's just everybody that I worked with has been so kind. We were talking pre-show about some of the weather situation that we've had in Tennessee, and my boss, 2 levels up, direct messaged me the other day and was like, "I just wanna make sure you're okay." Like that, just
Nice.
little things like that mean the world to me. Just that they take care of their people, they care for people, like, it's so lovely.
Yeah. How has it been working with everybody and onboarding onto the team?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because the last few companies that I've worked at have been smaller companies, and so when
Mhm.
I start, a lot of it is me initiating and asking questions like, "What about this?" or "I need information about benefits," or "Can you send me stuff about your 401k?" So I'm the one that's, like, driving everything, and if I didn't ask, may or may not happen, which I don't mind taking responsibility for things, but it has been so lovely to be part of a larger company that has a process. I know a lot of times people get bogged down with process and red tape and all the things, but it's so nice to start at a company and for them to say, like, here's everything that you need to do. Like,
Yeah.
here's everything, like, just run this install script and everything will work on your computer. Or, here's your whole benefits package. And here's open hours to speak with HR if you have any questions. And the fact that all of that stuff is provided is so nice.
And perspective, Cloudflare is the smallest company I've ever worked for. Is it the biggest company you've ever worked for?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I was trying to think the first company that I worked for out of college, I think at the time had close to maybe 2 or 3,000 people.
Mhm.
What's interesting is my husband works there now, and they're, like, down to, like, 750, so they've downsized
Okay.
considerably, just by nature of the work, that type of thing. So there was a process there, and we did, like, in-person orientation, but also just to put that in perspective, my orientation group there was maybe about a dozen people, most, and my cohort starting at Cloudflare was close to 40, 45
Mhm.
people. And they're, like, running weekly onboarding groups, whereas, like, this other company, it was, like, maybe every other week, depending on the pay cycles. So, kinda very different, but like I said, it's been so lovely. I just love having all that stuff.
I gotta say, I feel like Cloudflare is, like, exciting, like, electric right
Mhm.
now. I think the people joining the teams, the projects we're doing, the UI redesigns that we're putting out there, uh, where we're positioned for AI stuff, like,
Mhm.
also gets me really excited. Uh, the company's also pushing AI, like, really hard. They're
Yeah.
pushing their developers to use it, seeing what we could do on the developer platform with it, and I think, like, nowhere else would be this exciting,
Yeah. Yeah, well,
like
and I think
Cloudflare.
the other thing that I've appreciated so far, it feels like a yes culture.
Mhm.
And there are not like the previous company that I was talking about that was so large, and I mean, even smaller companies, it's been more of a no. Like, I'm gonna say no first, and then maybe we'll cycle back around on it. And so I appreciate the yes. Like, sure, yes, experiment with that. Let's see what happens. Or like, I'm not gonna say no now, but like, let's say yes for now and see what happens. Just explore it. See what you can find out. So I really appreciate that attitude. I feel like that's empowering instead of demoralizing. The other thing is, man, if I could have a conversation with the co-founders, like the thing that I keep coming back to in my head is you started this company with like, you know, just it's so small and it's grown to be 5,000 plus employees. I just don't feel like there's many co-founders that have the expertise and the knowledge to be able to know what to do when you're small and when you're large. And so to continue to see that amount of exponential success is like boggling to me in terms of how they've had to grow and the people that they've had to bring in and out of the company because there's several shifts when you hit certain points of growth
Yep.
that you have to change how you approach your own work, but also how you're leading people and who you surround yourself with.
I was blown away by the way that the founders viewed hardware.
Mm,
In a lot of the onboarding stuff, they talked about, like, we wanna take our machines and monetize every CPU and GPU and storage cycle on them, meaning, like, sure, you've got a machine over here running processes, and that's using a bunch of CPU, but its GPU and its storage are essentially free, so how do we, like, commoditize that and
mhm,
sell that? And it was like waste not, want not almost. Like, how
mm,
do we make the
mhm,
most out of what we have and build products around what we have? Like, that's such a interesting way of thinking.
mhm.
And I think that's how we're, like, squeezing the last drop of juice out of essentially everything that we have deployed today.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that has kind of surprised me the most about the company, and I think some of it is just where I've sat the past few years, is that when I've thought of Cloudflare, I've thought of it more as developer tooling because I've needed it for hosting or
Yeah.
D1 for databases, R2 for storage. They provide all these different services. But internally, the language that I keep hearing is that we are a cybersecurity company. And that's interesting because that's not what I would have said beforehand. And it makes sense because all of those things, you need that security and protection around that tooling. But that's kind of been interesting too, and seeing how that changes how they approach problems and think through things.
Well, I also think it's how we earn the majority of our money, so we were
Mhm.
probably like a networking and security company first, but I think all
Yeah.
the innovation is actually happening primarily on the developer platform.
Sure, sure. And I mean, that makes total sense because regardless of what happens with AI, you're going to need those infrastructure
Right,
pieces, that
right.
developer platform in order to use the AI and launch the tools and the products and things. Yeah. So
I have a dream for, like, running AI on Cloudflare, and, like, maybe this is just something, like, I should quote unquote build as like a fun internal project or whatever. But my dream is that, okay, I tried out Git work trees, right? The idea was like, we've got AI
Mhm.
agents, and what if you could run more than one at a time to like really scale your productivity? And I found that like having multiple checkouts of the same repo is hard to manage, and having work trees is also hard to manage. But like Cloudflare has sandboxes. What if you just opened a Cloudflare sandbox, gave it some initial instructions about download this repo and run the setup script to do whatever you need to do, start the dev server, and then start open code on the same in the same sandbox, and then you boom,
Mhm.
you isolated development environment with your code and your agent running, go. And then you're just like remotely you could like open up an open code session remotely somehow and then just like work. And now we've got
Mhm.
this you know how they used to run like VS Code in the cloud, right? Like that
Yeah.
was the thing. It
Yeah.
was like, "Oh yeah, do that in the cloud." Well, now just make it like open code sessions in the cloud
Yeah.
connected to a checkout of your repository. Like that is how you scale, and then it's like you've got
Yeah.
this dashboard, and it's telling you, "Oh, like, this agent's done or this agent's done."
Mhm. Yeah, that's a lot more efficient than putting 12 Mac Minis on your
Yeah.
desk. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody's seen those. There's pictures of people that are just, like, collecting all the Mac Minis and putting, like, Claude Blot and running, I think even Cloudflare Tunnel to just get into each of the machines and figure out what needs to happen.
Yep.
I was even thinking, I like your idea a lot better, but I do have a couple of old laptops, that I've been curious, like, could I spin that up? I mean, why go buy a Mac Mini when I have a few old
Yeah.
laptops that are just laying around that I could probably do something with?
Well, and you want Claude to be or Claude bot, Molt bot now. Did you hear Anthropic told them, like, "You can't use Claude in that way," and so now they're Molt bot
Oh, funny. Wait, but just by the name?
by the name. They didn't like the name.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny.
So they pivoted. Um But yeah, like, the idea is, like, you want those things running on your local network, so it has access to all of your local data, whether it be, like, your NAS or your smart
Mhm.
home setup or whatever. Um, but yeah, you have to have kind of a dedicated piece of hardware to run it, and you probably don't want it running on your main machine because that's just,
Yes.
like, a recipe for disaster, so
Yes. Well, I mean, even some of the stuff that I was reading this morning where people are like, "I processed 10,000 emails," and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want it
yeah.
doing all that stuff for me, at least not yet." I mean, I know that's probably the future, but I still not ready to relinquish that kind of control.
Well, even if you don't give it access to your communication,
Yeah.
it could still do things for you on your systems. Maybe you give it read only to like
Mhm.
emails or whatever, and you can just, right, you communicate with it via text or iMessage or whatever.
Sure.
And then you could be like, is there anything important today or in my emails? Like maybe it could
Right.
just read that stuff and tell you more. Have you
Or
set it up
even
yet?
like no, or I mean, like, even the human in the loop piece, like, "Okay, fine, write
Yeah.
the emails for me, let me go in, and then I
Yeah.
will click send." That would
Yeah.
maybe
Put
be
it in my
fine.
drafts folder. Like take your
Yeah,
best shot. Yeah.
yeah. I have not set it up yet. Again, I'm just a little antsy, and I guess, even though I have these laptops, I'm like, the beauty of a Mac Mini is you have a clean system that you're putting that on, because I still just don't want it crawling everything, because then this goes back to the cybersecurity piece, like, what
Yeah.
privacy are
Yeah.
you giving it? Like, sure, go ahead, look through all my pictures, look through all my emails,
Well,
my text messages. That's still a little scary to me.
it's still local, right? The idea is it's
Yeah.
still running on your machine, so it's not leaving, but all it takes is one freaking vulnerability, and holy
Mhm.
crap, everybody's stuff is on.
Well, so let me ask this. Okay, you could put it on a Mac Mini, yeah. Why not have it run on Raspberry Pi? That's even cheaper.
You probably could, but they're very underpowered. Like, the
Okay.
other day, here it is. This is
Yes.
my Pi. I got it in a case now. Um,
Nice.
I I got my website running on it, and npm run build kinda chugged, like, it was a
Oh,
little
did it?
slow. So you could tell these are, like, smaller machines,
Okay.
single core, less RAM, so it just can't
It's not
move
like
as
you have a
fast.
fan in there, right?
There is a fan in here, yeah,
Oh, there
there's a
is.
fan in here,
Okay.
and a heat sink, so it's
Okay.
just trying to keep the one CPU cool, um, But what they do now is the Raspberry Pis have, like, standoffs. They're like these little holes where you can put riser screws on it, and on top of there, you could put additional compute modules, storage modules, AI modules, kind of anything you want there. And the idea is like, sure, you could get one of these and then get a dedicated AI module where it would offload any of that compute for AI onto that module. And then you could probably run this stuff a whole lot better.
Yeah, so how easy was it to get everything up and running for you to get your
It was
website and all that stuff?
it was not hard. So if you're like familiar with command line tools, it was pretty easy. Basically, I got this like a kit from this company called CanaKit. And
Yeah.
so basically it came with just the board and then there was a card with the OS already flashed on it. So you just stuck it in, plugged it in, and like kind of clicked yes through the install menus. And then you have like a GUI, like a Linux operating system. From there, it's like install Git, which is like, you go to their website, it's like a curl command, you install node, npm, then you just clone down your website, run build, host it, like or run build and run start. Like that was all very easy. Um, Although there was some differences. I like my Vite config was set up to use Vercel as hosting, and so it didn't
Mhm.
load environment variables, and I had to like change a little bit of stuff around. But no, it really wasn't bad. Taking it a step further, you could use like a process manager like PM2 to make sure like the process is always running. Like if this is going to be a real
Mm,
if
mhm.
if I host my website for this on this for real, like I would use PM2 to make sure if it crashes, restart it, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
But it
sure.
was very easy. Oh, I also hooked up in order to get my environment variables instead of like copy pasting them, I just hooked up the Vercel npm package and used Vercel env pull to just like suck down my environment variables that I
Mhm.
had already. So all very easy. The hardest part was the Cloudflare tunnel to expose it to the internet. Very difficult time setting that up. The instructions weren't clear. The UI was actually terrible in the dashboard. So I have some feedback for that team coming.
I mean, that's the best way to get feedback, right? Is just to, like, use it and
Just use
figure
it.
out
Yeah.
yeah.
Like a walkthrough. Like
Uh-huh.
my manager did that for the domain transfer process and she was like, none of this made any sense. And she just took a video of her going through it. It was really
Mm,
helpful.
mhm. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I think I remember there being pins or something that you also had to, like, pull out or plug in. Maybe I'm not
Or on the
remembering
pie?
that. When yeah. Like, when you had to plug in different pieces and then you had I feel like there were stickers for the heat stuff. For me, I've never done anything hardware related, and so
Okay.
it felt very awkward because I was like, "Hopefully, I'm doing this right." I know you have more of an engineering background, but I just was very uncertain of what I was doing.
Yeah. I've built computers before and I went to college for electrical engineering. And so what I want to do with this next is like get a breadboard and a bunch of electrical components, connect it to the GPIO pins. So like there's a big row of them on the bottom. So
Yeah.
it's these deals right there.
Uh-huh.
You'll just connect like any kind of sensor you want there. A camera, like a photo resistor to detect light, lots of stuff. And then you can write a little Python program that runs on the Pi and like interacts with that hardware. I also have like LED string lights that I kind of want to hook up and see if I could get something going with there.
The, one that I was looking at had would it have like a is it NFC? NFP? Would it
NFC, yeah.
NFC scanner, so you could do the stickers or whatever. I know you've been talking about connecting, your kid's Yoto player.
Yes. These Yodo cards, actually, I wonder if I could just get like an NFC writer and use that instead of, yeah, the other way that I was going to do it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been programming Yodo cards, having a lot of fun trying to automate that process too with AI as well.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's just such a fun time. Now, one of the things that Brad and I were talking about before the show is and this kinda ties everything back together, is that I feel like my domain purchasing and a lot of my side projects have been proportionate to my satisfaction at work. So, it's like if I feel like I'm able to be creative at work, then I don't need to be creative at home. But if I am not being able to do creative things at work, then I want to find ways to be creative at home. Uh, this might so, like, I think that applies here. The one maybe discrepancy is that there's also, like, tools and things that I wanna play with at home just as experiments to see. Like, at work, we're all locked into OpenCode and Windsurf, and at home, I'm more interested in, like, Claude Code or Cursor, and so I think that's been a good way just to be able to know what else is available and how the other tools are evolving. But, I mean, how do you feel right now about, like, some of your side projects?
My side projects are mostly tinkering, and I've kinda
Okay.
told myself, like, my goal is to just tinker more. I fixed our toaster, and I took the whole thing apart. I'm messing around with
Wow.
this Raspberry Pi, and I just wanna do more
Uh-huh.
with project-based things, and if it involves software, cool. If it involves hardware, cool, but it's just, like, always kind of having something to dissect, take apart,
Sure.
fix, build. I previously viewed side projects as, like, what could I make? And I would just sit there and think, and then you think about something you could make, and then it never gets made because you just didn't have any attachment to it,
Mm.
or like a need or something. And I'm trying to change my thinking on like, what can I play with and explore? And even
Yeah.
if it doesn't turn into like this finalized, buttoned up project, I want to like take pictures of where it ended up,
Mm.
share that final state, even if it's not like completely perfect, and just be like, look, I made some lights blink on on this electric circuit or whatever. Like that's far enough. It doesn't have to be some big crazy web app or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that gives you a little bit more freedom in your side projects that complete doesn't always have to mean that the thing is launched and other people are using it. It could be, I
Yeah.
just want to learn this concept, and once I learn it, then really the project is done for me, whether other people can use it or not.
Right. Like I did it, I experienced it. That was
Mhm.
fun. That's what a hobby should be.
Yeah,
So,
I got what I needed out of it.
yeah.
It's a little bit more freeing than, "Oh my goodness, look at my graveyard of all the things that I've started but never finished." Oh,
Um,
man. So, I was gonna say, do you wanna talk a little bit about open code and some of the processes?
yeah,
Or do you wanna
I still haven't like written code in 2026. I mean, a little bit here and there, right? Going in and like
Yeah.
surgically changing some stuff. But for the most part, AI has just been able to get to the solution that I would have done anyways. And I won't necessarily say faster, because in some cases it's probably slower to get there.
Mhm.
I have those cycles to go do something else. And
Mhm.
the ding and my open code notifier plugin tells me, hey, this session is ready for you to come look at the output. Like it's really changed the way I work.
So, do you have multiple sessions working on the same code base at the same time, so they could potentially conflict with each other?
Yeah, yeah, they definitely would conflict with each other. Or
Okay.
I've got sessions like working into different parts of the code bases that I'm only committing
Yeah.
certain, things, or I've got sessions working on different code bases. Like if I want to do something for my personal website or a different project, I can
Mhm.
just write a prompt and like go back to work or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite features with Raycast is you can launch GitHub Copilot, and so there's
Mm,
been things where I've just said, "Hey, go update my bio, swap out this information with, like,
yeah.
the new numbers or whatever," and that's simple enough that it can go do it and then put in a PR, and the nice thing about Raycast is you get that little dashboard built in where it'll show you when everything's done running, and you can just go check out the PR.
What do you have to do to get Copilot hooked in? You have to just install like the GitHub extension?
Yeah, I think that was all I did. I'm sure there's probably an
Yeah.
API key that I had to give it so that it would know. But the nice thing with, say, like my website is it's running on Vercel and you have Vercel previews. And so when it opens that PR, it also has that preview and you can just go look at it live. It's not even like I have to I mean, I can look at the code, but I don't even have to pull it down to do a visual check on it. I can just look at the preview and then accept it and promote it to
Yeah.
production.
Yeah, I need to get my website over to Cloudflare. I've messed
Yeah.
with that several times, and I do feel like Remix doesn't have the best Cloudflare integration story. It's gotten better with like the Vite plugins, but it still feels weird because you have to have like a separate file that's essentially your request handler
Mm.
just to get it on Cloudflare workers, but I really should.
There's in the docs, there's like a template version that I think that they've already created as a starter that I've used. And so that's been so lovely because you can if it's a brand new project, you can just run that, and then as part of the install scripts, it'll even say, "Do you wanna go ahead and deploy it?" And so it'll go ahead and deploy the landing page to Cloudflare so you can see that it's all up and running. And then I have been doing a lot of work with Astro because one, Cloudflare acquired Astro. But with that particular project, Kevin Kipp wrote a Astro Cloudflare D1 integration blog post that is fantastic. And I applied it the other day to a React Router 7 project. I was like, I wonder if I could just use his setup configuration with React Router 7, and it worked great. I was really excited about that because I had a Redwood project that I wanted to migrate over to React Router. So all that stuff was lovely.
Ah, okay. I immediately went to his website because I love Kevin. Shout
Mhm.
out Kevin Kipp. He's awesome. Big part of like the remix meetups here in Austin and just like super awesome coworker, very collaborative. He's moving us further down like the React router path, which is great. But I'm looking at this blog post and I'm like, how did you do development databases? That was my
Uh,
biggest problem with Cloudflare because running like Wrangler locally and getting D1 spun up
mhm.
locally, it uses a local SQLite database. And if you want to connect an ORM to it, it's a giant pain in the butt because you have to like
Yep.
give it some local file path that's in some dot directory. And I looked at this and he just made 2 D1 databases, one
Yeah.
for the production one and one for the preview one. I'm like, yeah, that's one way to do it. It's
Yeah.
a whole lot easier, and then you don't have to worry about hosting anything locally.
Yeah, so anyways, it was easy to set up, and I don't know, been so excited about the services and the things that are running. The weird thing that I still can't wrap my head around with Astro is I know you have that islands convention, but it's not like you can go back and forth between Astro and React or Astro. And so it's like I guess that's kind of, in some ways the React server components mentality is that once you go over to the client, you can't really go back to the server to be able to pull information down. You are like, "Okay, I'm in client land now." So
Yeah. How do you feel like the Astro acquisition is gonna go? What did you think when you read that?
I'm excited about it, and some of that is just because I'm on the docs team, and so we are already using
Very
Astro
relevant.
on everything,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, now we just get first class support because they're part of our team.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I feel like we necessarily need a ton of support just because
Yeah.
just it just works. But Starlight is fantastic for all the documentation stuff. We also use that at Redwood. Um, just the stuff that it offers out of the box. I just there's not there's not anything like it right now. Um, and I think one of the advantages with Astro is they position themselves as a content-driven site, so the fact that you have markdown support, MDX support, expressive code all out of the box, I think makes a huge difference. And one of the things that I really wanna dive down I'm working on a POC right now, a proof of concept, and using Astro Actions, which I haven't gone too far down yet, but that looks so lovely compared to the last time I was trying to build an app within Astro.
It's been really cool to see Fred in the chat too. Every
Mhm.
now and then he was like asking some AI questions and stuff. Just again, very exciting time to be
Mhm.
at the company. A lot of cool things going on.
Yeah, sure, and even, like, the, Replit group that has also joined the team, that was, I guess, the end of last year. I feel like this is
Replicate
funny.
or Replit?
Oh, I thought they
Replicate
were
when I yeah.
oh, got it, okay.
The one that Jordan
Well,
came in
they
through.
yes, okay.
Replicate.
That makes sense. Thank you for correcting me. I was looking at Replit the other day. But I there we go, he's laughing
Yeah.
in the chat. I with Replicate, they were presenting in a developers, show and tell on Friday,
Mhm.
and the stuff
Mhm.
that they've built is incredible too.
Yeah, they're like obviously ahead on the AI stuff, and I feel like I asked Jordan a lot of questions when it comes to this because I'm like, I'm experimenting and figuring things out, but you guys have been working in this world for a whole lot longer.
Mhm. Yeah. So what's interesting is this past weekend, I went down a rabbit hole with, okay, where is design in all of this? And that was kind of interesting, just getting mixed results. And some of it's like, okay, is this a matter of prompting? Is this a matter of the tooling? How can you get, I don't know, for a while, everybody was like AI purple because all the websites that the AI tools were putting out were like a purple color. And so it's like, okay, how can you get these different like things that felt more branded and cohesive when all it felt like all the AI tools are creating the same stuff. And some of it I think has to do with the fact that AI is predictive, right? It's working off of trained material that it has. It's predicting what you want. And so in some ways it's going to give you the most generic thing that will solve that problem for you. And I think that's, maybe a plug for designers is the fact that you have design thinking and a level of skill and craft that AI is not quite there yet, or at least they are only showing you things that have already existed because it's trained on past material. And so when you're talking about, well, I want a new workflow or I want something specific to how I use design and think through the user experience, that hasn't really been created yet. And so that's kind of like an interesting shift, I think, in how you use the tools. So I went through all of them. In a lot of cases, I was trying to use the same prompts to see what it would give me. In some cases, it was giving me similar results, but there was just like nuances and tastes that I feel like it was missing, which I think also says, moving forward, that's going to be more important for people is to be able to have that acquired taste to know what's good and what's not, why something works and why it doesn't. So, I mean, I did all of them. We could talk about all of them, like Stitch. There's Google has their own thing with Studio. They have like Nano Banana that'll generate UI. Cursor has its own thing where you can give it screenshots or prompt it stuff. But the best one that I found, the best one that I found was actually with Figma. And I think it's because you already have all of your design assets within Figma when you're creating a new project. There's still nuances to it that I didn't feel like were quite there, but I did feel like it gave me the best output. The other one that I really do like is it's called Aurora Build.
Hmm.
And the guy that is behind it has his own YouTube channel. He has a bunch of different videos on AI and design that can include links to these things within the show notes. But his stuff is quite good. And one of the things that I do like about the Aurora.build stuff is that he has a build prompter, which for us prompting code we know how to do because we've been coding for years. I know the terms that I need to use to be able to get the output that I want. I know to tell it, yes, use Tailwind or to use D1 or R2 or React Router. Like I know all the buzzwords, but a lot of people don't necessarily know the buzzwords to use when they're talking about design. And so the nice thing about Aurora is that it has a prompt builder that will help give you that language. Once you build something, you can tell it and prompt it. Like you can just fill in. It'll have like almost like buttons, like, yes, I want this left aligned or use this style. And I think that's what makes, in some ways, the design piece harder. Is people don't necessarily have the language for it.
Yeah, well, okay. First of all, are you asking for essentially like images of UIs or are you getting actual code back? Like, what's the output?
So I think it's Aurora. I was starting to second guess myself because I pulled up in the site and I was like, this doesn't look like my projects, or this is like a different project. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. So or maybe they updated their website. Sorry, I'm getting confused now.
I'm
Pretty
on
sure
Aurora
it's
too, and things
the
are not working.
design. Let me just do a quick check. Oh, you know what? I think I said, nope, that's not it. I think that's right. Oh, well, I'll double check and put a link in the
Aura.build.
Aura.
Oh, this looks better.
Yes,
This is
yes,
way
that's
better.
it. Thank you.
Aura.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Okay, let me include a link. I started to type it, my autocomplete messed me up. Yes, that's it.
Oh yeah, this looks good. Wow.
Yeah. So there's the prompt builder there, and a lot of their stuff is built on Gemini 3.
Okay. Okay, and again, what does it
Um,
output? Does it output like raw HTML or does it
yeah,
output like
so
a JPEG?
It will give you you have to pay for the different outputs, but it will
Okay.
give you code. It'll also give you a Figma file, and that is huge for me because I'm like,
Wow.
I can take what it generates, and even if it's not there, I can
Okay.
copy that into Figma, and then I can tweak it to get it to do what I want. But it also has templates and components that you can add to your project. So if you're like, I know that this is kind of the style that I want, you can go in and find a pre-configured component and then be able to prompt it from there. So you're not necessarily starting from scratch unless of course you just want to. And then the nice thing, which I feel like is missing from Figma Make, is that in the toolbar, I can say basically duplicate this prompt or this page. And then in the bottom, I can say, okay, now adapt this page for whatever layout. And so it
Mhm.
knows this is all part of the same system. So I'm going to keep using the same fonts, the same borders, same, spacing, all the same design tokens to be able to generate the next thing. And you can also just say, hey, like, actually, let's create a different version of this. This is what I do like. And you can go back in the different versions. So you start to have iterations. But I still feel like that is one area where some of the tooling is missing. There was one tool that I used called Reloom.io. I'll share a link to that as well. This one was really interesting because it has you start to kind of think through the design process, which, I mean, we know that that's the best way AI works is not necessarily to one shot it, but to like create a plan and take it step by step. And so with Reloom, you start saying, hey, I want to build this website. You can give it like an overall project prompt and it'll kind of build out the pages. And then you basically build out a sitemap. And within the sitemap, you say, okay, these are all the different components that I want on that page. And then from there, it will generate a wireframe. And then you can go in and tweak all the wireframes. And then from there, you can create a style guide. And then it will apply that style guide to the wireframes that you've created. So the only problem with this flow, though, is that it's all based on like marketing design and building landing pages and not application design. And so like I was working on an application, I was like, oh, this is great. And then until I got to the like build step or the wireframe, I was like, it doesn't have anything for building products. It's all just landing page based. And then just to see where it went, I felt like it got really generic once you hit the style guide because it's like just
Mhm.
like pick these Google fonts and these colors. And then it just felt very generic and very AI. But I'm like, I feel like this is moving in the right direction towards what we need, but it's just not there yet.
Yeah, the only experience I've had with this stuff is asking Opus to just, like, make this look better, and
Mm,
it did a decent job, but it is not like a well thought out design.
yeah.
I what I kinda wanna do is do that for my own personal website. I think I'm due for a refresh.
Mm.
Um, I look at Ryan Furr's website, and I'm like, "Damn it, like, I need one like that," you know? So I wanna look at trying to get mine to look a whole lot more like the Cloudflare Sandbox's website. It's
Mm,
still got
mhm.
that black and white boxy
Yep,
aesthetic, but it looks really cool. And
yeah,
so I could take just a couple design elements from there, I bet, and make mine look a whole lot better while keeping the same vibe and feel. Super minimal, super clean, but just
sure.
jazzed up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, some of that's like the language, right? It has more of like a brutalist feel to it. So like, I know,
You need to be able
use
to
that
s yeah.
word. Yeah.
Yeah, but
One
you can
thing
also just give it a link, and
uh-huh.
give it some
Yeah.
screenshots and just be like, "Kind of make this," you know, and
Yeah. One thing that I wanna do that I've seen people talk about is taking more of like going to mobbin.com. I think that's how you pronounce it. Have
never
you
heard
heard of
of
this?
it.
Here, I'll include a link in the show notes. But what you can do there is they have collected every single category that you could think of, from mobile to web, from marketing to product design, and they've tried to capture flows. So if you want to click on a login flow, you can see how all these companies have done it. Now, you do get
Mhm.
access to certain amounts of screens or flows or companies, for free, but then you do have to pay to get full access, and I just haven't made the leap to pay, and some of it's because I just prefer month to month. I know it ends up being more expensive, but just giving me the freedom to flip it on or off, and the
Right.
lowest can do with Mobbin is a quarter. So, like, to jump in, it's like, I think close to 40 or $50 just because you have to pay 3 or 4 months upfront. I'm like, not sure about that. But I know that a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube or Twitter, what they do is they'll come to Mobbin, get ideas for different layouts or different flows, download them or copy those images, take screenshots, and then stick them in, say, Cursor, ChatGPT, or Claude, or whatever, and then
Yeah.
it will generate those things based on what you're giving it, what you're providing it with.
Okay, so, like, reining it into work stuff a little bit because I
Mhm.
kinda wanna get to this point. It's like, okay, we've got designers building things, and maybe they're using AI tools to help generate Figma mocks. It's great. How do we get from Figma mock to code? I know Figma has
Mhm.
an MCP server. I haven't
Yep.
been able to get it to work. But what does that MCP server enable you to do? What are the tools and what are, like, the outputs it can give you?
Yeah, you can do a couple of different things with them. One, there's a YouTuber that I've been watching where she will create an entire design system and then have Figma go in and grab that, especially if you're using, like,
That's nice.
design tokens within Figma, it'll go ahead and grab all those, kinda sync that with your code, make sure that it all works, and then
The
build out your design system.
tokens, you're just saying, like, CSS variables, like
Yeah,
fonts, like spacing, like colors. Okay,
that's
that's a
right.
good base layer. Is it actually able to grab or make, like, from a Figma component, turn
Yep.
it into a React component type thing?
Yep, yep, and you can also include in that workflow, like, "Hey, go ahead and create a storybook file for me," so I get a storybook with all the documented props and everything that you want in there. Now, the way that I've used Figma MCP, because just be honest, I'm a little sloppy with my design tokens and things within Figma because, like, I've used them, but usually it's one of those things where I'm like, "I'm playing. I don't wanna be locked into something. I'll
Right,
just, like, shoot from my hip, and
right.
then at the end, if I have to hand it over to someone else, if I'm not the one doing the implementation, then I'll go in and clean everything up. I'll make sure all the spacing is tight and everything's aligned, blah, blah, blah." So a lot of my Figma files, I feel like, are pretty messy, at least for my usage, and one thing that you can do though is you can use the, like, component to code, and you can one shot it. I've done that, but I've seen more success if I start to group components because, I mean, this is also how we work, right? I think that's kind of my unlock for AI is it follows or it should follow the same way that we work. So when I work through a Figma file, if I'm going to implement a design, I'm going to start with the layout. What's the shell pieces that I need? And so I will duplicate whatever design that I have in Figma. I'll just give it, like, create the shell. I'll delete all the unnecessary pieces. And then when you connect the Figma MCP server, and it's not hard to connect at all. Like, I think in the Figma documentation, it's like if you're using Cursor, just copy and paste this. It's just copying a segment of JSON into your, like, mcp.json file.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
super easy to connect. But then if you're running Figma desktop locally, you can just go in and
Yeah,
highlight that frame. And then you're in dev mode, you highlight that frame, and then you go over to, say, Cursor, and you run the MCP command to say, "Hey, grab that component," and then convert it. And what I found is when I'm using Cursor, it will recognize, "Oh, you're using Tailwind. Oh, in this project, you have Shad CN. Oh, you already have a component that kind of does this. It's a badge component. We can go ahead and implement that." And so it'll start putting everything together for you and code it out. And it's not, like, entirely perfect, but man, it gets you a whole lot further than if I were to code everything by hand and I'm just, like, tweaking a few things versus, like, having to start from scratch and type because, I mean, AI can type faster than we can, whether whether we like that or not. There's also the ability, like, if you are in dev mode and you have your MCP server turned on, you can click a button where it's like, "I'm just copy this command and the or copy this prompt." And the prompt is implement this using and it has the URL. So it'll use basically like a remote server to be able to connect to that particular node within your Figma document. So
mm.
I found that that's also great because in your case, you're talking about creating a bunch of different sessions. You can actually have it work on multiple components because it's using a remote server instead of having to go in and say, "This is the active selected node that I have on my desktop." You can just basically feed it in all the nodes that you need and let it run wild.
Is is this component generation happening in the MCP tool in a scripted manner, or is this component generation happening in the LLM? in a non-deterministic way?
I th no, that okay, so I haven't tested it in the sense that I haven't run it multiple times to see if I'm getting the exact same result, because that's what deterministic is. But
Mhm.
I will say I'm gonna assume that it's probably some combination of both, because if you are looking in the developer tools in within Figma, it does
They give you
provide
HTML,
CSS,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
HTML and
yeah,
CSS. It's like, "Here, copy these." So you get
yes.
that out of it. But for it to come over to Cursor and recognize that I'm using ShadCN or I already
Right.
have a general component, it has to be able to interpret that to be able to say, "Oh, I'm gonna match these 2 things up and use a component that you already have." So it has to be a little bit of both and.
That makes sense.
One
I'm assuming then the MCP probably does whatever the Figma API would give you, which
Yep,
is probably, yeah,
that's right.
raw HTML, raw CSS, maybe some CSS variables like you've defined, and then it takes over from there.
Yeah.
Um, that's cool. Have you
Now
gotten it hooked up at work, though?
yeah.
I can't get the Cloudflare one to actually work.
I haven't hooked it up with open code, I don't think, but I've done it within Windsurf. It's, like, super easy within Windsurf
Gotcha. It's
because
the
it's
open code
basically
one
the
that is
same.
not working.
Yeah, I can go in and check it and see, on my end because I know that the servers at least the MCP server is at least set up correctly. I just need to see if I can get it to work with open code. Now one thing I will say that usually a couple of tricks that I've done is if I'm gonna create a component, like say we're talking about the layout or if there's like a card component, I will usually create that file within my code. You probably don't have to, but that way I am telling it,
It
"Stick the code
knows.
here."
Right,
That way it's not
exactly.
just gonna create code in willy-nilly places. But that also means that if it's, like, gonna create a card component, it will probably stick everything in that single file. And so it might have additional functions for, say, like, badge components or drop downs that don't exist, and that's all in a file. And so
Yeah,
I'll usually do a couple other passes to be like, "Okay, refactor this, pull this code
yeah.
out, stick it over here." And then for better or worse, the other thing that it will usually do is, say, if we're working in that card component, it will mock out the data that you need for that card component and put a giant, like, JavaScript variable at the top with, like,
Cool.
JSON or, like, an array that has
Yeah,
all of that in there. And so one of the
nice.
flows that I'm using right now is it's like, okay, it created all these things for the front end, and now I've gotta go in and create the drizzle schema. And so then I say, "Hey, here's my content based on um, the mocked data, go ahead and create a schema that matches this within the database. And then also, while you're at it, just go ahead and use this data for the seed file." And so it's kind of cool that it basically like feeds itself and
Yes.
helps you walk down all those steps.
I also have, I basically derive everything from mocks, like test mocks. So I'll
Yep.
set up data in test mocks that has the type of from the ORM schema, use that to seed and that on the, everywhere. It's like one set of data that does it all. And then if you make your mocks intelligently where you have generator functions, you can essentially just take a partial of that type and generate like deviations of those if you
Yep.
ever needed to.
Yeah. It's so, and I don't know how much you've done with Drizzle, but Drizzle is just so lovely too because it will create all those types for you. And then like everything is just type
I'm
safe and
still team
smart.
Prisma, but yeah.
Uh, Well, I think some of it is just, if I'm using D1, like Drizzle has a direct D1 integration, so it makes it super easy to connect.
Yeah, and I think this is why, because Prisma's like, "Well, we have our own hosted databases.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
would we give you, like, a really nice D1 integration?" Yeah, but, I mean, I need to I'm, like, really sitting on the fence with that because like, the
Yeah,
new Prisma ORM update was, like, really enticing to me. D1 still or Drizzle still hasn't figured out the Drizzle Studio local situation based on Kevin's blog post. Um, but it does sound easier to just make a bunch of D1 databases or a bunch of Prisma hosted databases and just host your development database,
yeah.
on a platform.
Prisma does have actually, I was talking about how nice all that type safety is. Prisma has built-in, helpers for all that as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, but
that
it's
is
not
pretty
TypeScript
easy.
native, and so it's kind of
Yeah.
or it
I
is now, I believe, right?
I
They're
think
they're
you still
moving
have
that way.
to, or at least last I looked, I don't think that was pre their latest release. But you still had
Yeah.
to run the generator to generate the
Yeah, yeah,
type.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's what's nice about Drizzle is, like, it's all inferred, so it's
Yeah.
just there.
Just is there. So
Yeah.
lovely. I love it. I love it. So, I can tell you what I'm building right now. I'm working on podcast tooling. I kind of talked about that a couple weeks
Ooh,
ago, but I'm still trying to get all that stuff squared away. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Especially because it's like even if nobody else uses it, I know we will use it and love it and enjoy it.
yeah.
So that's fun. And then there's just some of the stuff from Build 12 that I didn't finish that I'm like, I want to finish this project because I started it and now I want to finish it. So all that's been super fun.
Um, just to go back, when you're building side projects, I'm assuming you're using Cursor and Claude, right?
Yes. Yep.
How
Well, cursor is using I have that set to auto, which you were kinda
Sure,
talking about
sure.
that before. The nice thing about auto is it'll pick whatever model it thinks is best for that particular task. So sometimes I'll move it over to Opus 4.5, but, Cursor also has its own models that are great for coding as well.
And I guess I should have said Claude Code. Are you using a CLI
Mm.
tool as well or just,
I've
the editor?
I've experimented with Claude Code. I still just can't quite figure out the perfect workflow with Claude Code. I wanna get there just because I've seen so many people create amazing projects with Claude Code, but part of me is also like, "Well, is it really" I don't know the answer to this. Is it really Claude Code or is it really Opus 4.5? Like, what is the draw there?
Yeah,
You
I
know? Like, is
think
it kinda the same thing? Not really? Maybe that's a dumb question.
I think these harnesses are doing more. Like, open code is
Mhm.
so extensible and configurable. I can credit a little bit more
Yeah.
of my success to that, the way I'm
Yeah.
building sub agents, the way I'm building skills, all of this stuff.
Mhm.
It's not the model, it's like the ability of the harness to
Yeah.
feed the
The
model the
tools
right
that they have
context at the
baked
right
in.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So, one of the nice things about Cursor is they've done a bunch of stuff with their UI. So, you have
yeah,
agent views, they have work trees
yeah,
built in,
yeah.
and so they have, like, all the agent stuff. They have this exactly the skills that you're talking about, and there's even this is so lovely. I noticed this weekend when I was working. You can ask the agent to do a bunch of stuff, and then at the bottom when it's done, it's like review. So then you hit the review button. It's this really lovely diff that looks wonderful. It's all right there, and then there's a button at the top that, like, once you've reviewed it, you just click commit. So the fact that it's all right there, and that's I think the difference for me with Claude Code is I haven't quite figured out that I'm gonna flip back between my terminal and my code, which I know you're like basically using open code as your orchestrator, your conductor,
Yes,
and it's like
yes.
it's just a different hat that you're wearing.
Yeah, I still hate that I have to have 2 applications open, VS Code and open code. If Cursor is getting this right, like, it would be great to just have it all in one, where here's your agent window, and here's your right next to the code that it's doing, and, um, yeah. I would love to be a little bit closer to the code than I am. Like, I was
Yeah.
just using AI as, like, a little bit of an autocomplete with some question answering. Now I'm so far into the open code world where, like, I've got 2 windows open, I'm watching the AI make the changes 3 windows. I'm watching the AI make the changes in the browser and in the editor, and then I've got my open code window open. But if Cursor could just mold all this together like it sounds like it's doing,
Yeah.
that sounds like it's gonna be the right way to go, where you've got hands-on if you need to, or let the agent run and do its thing if you want to.
Yeah, so it also has, a built-in browser, so it can get all of the network requests and everything that you need for that, and then it also has a design view where you can go in almost as if you're working with, I mean, it doesn't look like it, but you know how, like, if you have your dev tools open within Chrome, you can adjust your padding and your spacing. It has
Mhm.
more of like a Figma sidebar where you can
Uh,
go in and adjust all your spacing, and then it'll apply all those changes that you make to your
wait,
code based on that design view. So there's
that's
just,
good.
all built in. So
Like,
lovely.
custom built for web developers, which is really, really
Yeah.
good. Like, it's not just like, "Oh, here's code, and by the way, you can hook it up to a browser." It's like, this is for web developers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so if anybody is interested more in, like, the cursor stuff, I would also say just go check out Lee Robb. He is just a great educator in general, um, and has been creating a lot more content. He's pretty active on Twitter or X if, you wanna see what he has to say about Cursor and some of their new things that they're coming out with.
Sweet.
Let's see, did we talk about everything?
Pretty much. Take some plugs time?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you wanna go first? Oh, here, I'll intro. So we'll step into the next segment of the show, which is our picks and plugs, where we pick something that we like and plug something generally that we worked on. So, Brad, do you have picks and plugs?
Um, okay, I've got a not pick, but then like an actual
An
pick.
anti-pick?
I've been playing Metroid Prime on Switch 2, and I hate it. It just feels slow and boring, and it doesn't tell you what to do enough, and I feel like most of my time with the game is just frustration and isolation, and it's just not very fun. So I would not recommend Metroid Prime on
Anti-pick.
Switch 2. That's my not pick, but I will say, I think I picked this before, but it's this Raspberry Pi. It's been
Mm.
so much fun messing with this thing. You feel, like, really technical when you're, like, plugging everything in and all that stuff, and now I'm, like, I can SSH to it from my local network, and I got my website running on it the other day, and it was smart enough to know, like, where it's being hosted. So, like, my site's being
So
hosted
cool.
on the Pi, it says, "Hosted on Raspberry Pi" right on the bottom. So, just a fun thing to mess with, and this is only, like, step 0. Once I get all the electronic components, that's gonna open up a whole lot more. So I got a kit from CanaKit, comes with a heatsink, a fan, and a case, plus the SD card, all the cables, everything you I'll drop the That's been awesome.
Sweet. And then a plug? Your website?
Yeah, watch my website because I really do number 1, I wanna get it running on a Pi, but which probably means I need another Pi to run 24/7, that's the case. Um, but I wanna get it running on the Pi or host more applications on the Pi. But yeah, I wanna redesign my website to look a whole lot more like Cloudflare sandboxes. Just that same black and white aesthetic, but, like, a lot more jazzed up. So keep an eye on bradgarrity.com. You'll see some changes coming there.
Cool.
Amy, what do
Um,
you got?
yes. Oh, I know what I'll pick. I was like trying to think, what do I pick? What do I pick? This is gonna be so dumb. Actually, Scott Talinsky picked this on Syntax, and I bought it. So he picked a magnetic pop socket.
Ah,
So I love a pop socket, but I usually keep my wallet on the back of my phone. And like I also have accessories where I'm like, when I get in the car, I just stick it on the phone car mount. And so I haven't wanted a pop socket because it blocks that, but because it's magnetic, I can take it on and off, and it's been lovely. So, this one I think is by the actual pop socket brand, but there's several out there that you could get. So I love
I
the
you know,
MagSafe.
maybe I should have picked this. I got a magnetic, like, car mount for my
Mhm.
phone, and it actually screws in, like, the little tray that sits above your, like,
Oh.
screen on your dash, and so it's very sturdy. It's just boom, like, you stick it right there.
Oh,
It's
that's
awesome.
nice. Mine goes into my air vent, which takes a little bit of getting used to, especially in the summer and it's hot. You are kind of blocking an
Yeah,
air vent.
yeah.
But it does keep the phone cold. Doesn't get overheated, but it does take up some of your cool air.
Yeah.
So, actually, kinda talking about that, Henry got or I got, for him for his birthday one year because we had drive older cars, but you can buy an actual display that will run CarPlay on it, and you can connect it to your car. So if you have an older car and you want CarPlay, you can still get CarPlay. You just have, like, a screen that will mount in your car and run it. And I didn't realize this, but actually CarPlay kind of runs through your phone, and it just, like, when it connects to it, it'll pull it up. So any updates for CarPlay go through your phone, not like the actual display. It's not like you have to bring it in and sync it like you did in the olden days with with the Garmin GPS if you want to update your maps. So
Does does that, like, display thing do wireless CarPlay, or you still have to plug it in?
no, it's wireless CarPlay.
That's awesome.
Didn't have to plug yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't have to plug in his phone. The weird part, that we never figured out or just didn't bother to, you might with all your electronics training, is that you can connect those to, like, your car stereo. But we didn't wanna, like, pull out the dash and dig through all of that, and so what we ended up doing was, doing, like, the FM transmitter instead, which
Mm.
if you're just driving around town is fine, but, like, is it kind of annoying when you're traveling and you're going in and out of, like, radio areas and that kinda thing? You can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
also connect it again, if you wanna get into the hardwiring of your car, you can also connect it to the camera in your car if you have that, so it would display the cameras within the CarPlay screen, but again, we never took it that far.
I've got a 2015 Dodge Ram, and I that's the one thing I desperately want and don't have is CarPlay, and, to do that is very expensive because you have
Yeah.
to, like, remove the existing display, then put in one that's compatible, which, like, it doesn't
Mhm.
even look that good afterwards, and then you have to hook up, yeah, your steering wheel. You have to change the USB ports in your, like, center console
Yep.
and run all the wires through the back of the new display,
Yeah.
and again, it doesn't even look factory, it looks, like, super tacked on.
Yeah.
There's this
Yeah.
other version I saw where you literally, like, take this mount and just put a whole screen over your current screen, and it
That's
somehow
kind of
hooks up. I don't know, like
that's kind of what we did, except it had, like, an arm. So, you
yeah,
mount the arm had the screen coming off. Like, so, you've probably been in those Ubers where they've, like, have additional screens coming out at
mhm.
them. That's kind of what it looked like. But
Yeah, I don't
it's a
know,
good
I just can't justify splurging for that because it seemed like a lot of work, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it might not even work." Okay,
Oh, yeah. Well, I bought it I bought it for Henry through the TikTok store. So
nice,
so it wasn't too expensive. But
nice.
anyways, I was like, if I ended up giving it to him early because I was like, "I'm pretty sure this came from China. And if I need to send it back, I need to send it back now."
Yeah.
So,
See,
hilarious.
me just getting that phone holder was my poor man's CarPlay.
Well, to be honest, so he got a new car that now has CarPlay built in
Mhm.
and gave me the screen, and I was like, "You know what? I almost am just more happy with my phone being there, because it has everything that I need. I don't have to do
Yeah,
any weird finagling. It connects to the Bluetooth in my car. I'm totally
yeah,
happy with that."
yeah.
So, hilarious. And then for my plug, oh goodness, I don't think I have one. I plugged this a few weeks ago. I'd probably just say, if you wanna follow me on GitHub, I know that's kind of a weird thing because it's not like social media, but any, code that I'm doing is I'm just all sticking it all on GitHub.
Your
Um,
personal?
yeah, I what did I stick up there the other day? I did something fun. Oh, I created a there is a Chrome extension that already does this called Recent Tabs, but, I kind of vibe coded a Chrome extension because 'cause I'm using Chrome at work instead of Arc, and I was like, "I need something for Recent Tabs." So anyways, that was pretty cool to be able to just do that and stick it up there. But, I also have, like, a repo up there for Git work trees. I'm still need to kind of flesh this one out, but if you're interested, what Git work trees allows you to do is basically have a single Git repo on your machine, but then you can almost open up different branches within different folders. So you can navigate between the different folders and have work happening in each of those folders so that it doesn't conflict. So if you want, to, like, have multi-agents working in different spaces in the same code base without conflicting, Git work trees is the way to go. So there's a repo in there that kinda explains the setup that I had for that. So,
If
yeah,
we're talking
that's
about GitHub repos, I'll throw this one out there. I automated, like, the downloading of YouTube playlists through a Yodo CLI. So it's like Yodo download and then, like, the URL of a video or a playlist, and it'll just download one or all of those items. But, like, I have a big update coming to this CLI because the way I do Yodo stuff is I just download the tracks locally to my computer and then re-upload them to the Yodo website. So why not just hold the tracks, the playlists in YouTube playlists, and then just have a sync between the YouTube playlist
mm,
and the Yodo playlist? And so I'm building that out, all vibe coded, and
so cool.
so watch that repo. That'll be there hopefully by the end of the week. I have something going.
Sweet. Oh, it's just so fun. That's what I
Yeah,
think
it's
anytime
really fun right now. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat. Zane, I know I didn't really say anything before, but thanks for your comments as well as Jordan. Um, just fun seeing a little bit of chatter going back and forth. But thanks everybody for hanging out. If you're listening in your podcatcher of choice after the fact, please leave a rating and review. That helps us find sponsors, guests, all the things. I know this was kind of a Cloudflare gushing episode, but we also have some people from Cloudflare coming on to talk about some of the tech and the things that they're working on. So we're pretty excited about that. But for now, that's all we got. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream since we're at time. Bye, everybody.